Hello and welcome to another episode of God-Sized Stories. Today, my guest is Elyse. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Elyse. I am a wife to Rob. We've been married for over 6 years now. We have 2 boys. Their names are Isaiah and Titus, and that is the biggest joy in my life right now, being a mom and getting to see them become brothers and really start to form a real relationship together. I'm mostly at home with them, and I'm really, really thankful and blessed to do that. But I do work part-time. I just started working part-time this year at Village Church of Gurnee as the coordinator of the Moms Ministry. So we're a Bible study, really encouraging relationship forming between moms of all ages and stages. And that's been a huge blessing too this past year.
Yes. I guess I probably met you before that, but that's where I really got to know you first, was working as well in that situation, being your assistant along with many other people that have been on this podcast so far as my first pool of people. Yeah. We sat down, we wanted to have a really good conversation about the importance of friendships and community. And that's been a really important part of your past. Yeah. You're telling me a little bit, you want to get into some of your history with that.
Definitely. Yeah. So I did graduate school at Iowa State University and moved there with no friends. And so I quickly joined a church and really enjoyed my time there, but still hadn't made those genuine friendships in my first few months there. And so I was riding the university bus home from work one day and sat next to this girl named Alyssa. And we started chatting about, how things were going. And we had seen each other at church, so we knew we had that foundation established. But had never really met. And so we started talking, we exchanged numbers, and she said, hey, I am working on starting this book club. We're going to read The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. And it's a great book, a really good book. And she invited me to join. She said, it's just me and one other girl right now, but, we'd love to have you join us or whoever else you think might be a good fit for it. And so, of course, looking for friends, I was like, this is a great opportunity, and was really excited to take advantage of it. I had heard of Tim Keller, had never read any of his books. I was single at the time, so I wasn't necessarily in marriage context, but definitely ready to be married.
Exactly.
So I was intrigued by that.
It's really important, and I've had a lot of great conversations with people over time, how important it is to learn about marriage way before you're in marriage. Because if you're already in marriage and you start to learn, it's too late.
It is.
It's way too late.
Yeah. Well, and that really, framed a lot of my conversations and talk with Rob, even as we were dating, I was like, hey, this book,
Yeah, make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really good. So we met that next week and ordered the books on Amazon and got them in and started reading. And we continued to meet week and week and week after week, reading just a chapter at a time, and building conversation around that. And there was no core facilitator. It was really just a chance for us to come together and discuss the topic and ask questions and challenge each other and build our knowledge that way. And the coolest thing about this was, like I said, it started with 3 people, but even 2 weeks later, there were 5 people. And 4 weeks later, there were 8 people. It was just a constantly revolving and evolving community. And that really allowed us to be open and honest with each other, because we had to learn how to continue to share deep things about our life and challenge each other, even when we didn't have that relational foundation. It was really, just really, really important. That book club met for 5 years.
Wow.
And it just kept changing, who was involved in it. Yeah. We read tons of different books.
So was this something that was it 100% organic on you guys, or was it part of the church you were at?
Yeah, it was totally organic. That conversation with Alyssa on the bus really started it. It was not initiated by our church. It wasn't even advertised at our church.
Oh, wow.
It really was just, people that we were running into and feeling like could benefit from this sort of community. It was open to. And so that was just so important to us to be able to invite people, because I think we can get used to having that sort of isolated mentality of community. Like, I want a deeper relationship with you, so you and I need to spend tons of time together and really rub each other so that we know who you are and you know who I am. And we can't do that with the distraction of new people coming in all the time. And I think that's a mentality we can seep into. But what I learned through this experience with the community being so transient, keep changing all the time, was that we can do that. Like we can invite new people into a well-established group and still have really strong community and real relationship there. So yeah, that was just really foundational and exciting. I mean, I met some of my best friends through this book club. I mean, Alyssa being one of them. She and I have been really tight and close. A couple other people, and it was mostly single women actually that were a part of this. And since then, at least 8 of us have gotten married. And so it's been fun, to be a part of that process, to see them meet someone and start to date someone and get engaged and married. And now many of them have kids. So really just some really, foundational friends that even as I've moved through, from single to married to now mom, moving through that with other people that have seen me through those different phases has been so meaningful and exciting to see how those relationships develop.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some, like you talked about the Timothy Keller book. What are some other things you guys did together?
Yeah, it was fun because we would meet at the end of every book. We'd have one meeting where everyone would bring their recommendations for the next book club book. And we get things from novels, like fiction novels, all the way to like Discipline of Grace by Jerry Bridges, which is pretty theologically intense. That's deep. And we did end up doing that actually. We did the Jerry Bridges book and really enjoyed it. But we did C.S. Lewis, Screwtape Letters. That was great conversation, prompted some good stuff. We did Redeeming Love, which was more of a novel, but based on the story of Ruth. So that was really exciting too, to get a little more. It wasn't truly fiction, but still a fictional story related to a biblical story. We did John Piper. We did Nancy DeMoss Wolgemuth. So other books on like womanhood, biblical womanhood, and what that looked like. And that was really foundational too for our group, just to have an open space to have those sorts of conversations. So yeah, we really ran the gamut, and it was fun each time. We kind of all gear up. There were a couple times where we even made a bracket, to decide which book was going to go on. Intense. And so we had a good time with those meetings. Where everyone would bring their snack and their book and set the bracket. Who's going to square off against who and get to pitch your idea. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun that we weren't on one train of thought. That we were willing to kind of scatter topical studies and topical books into more pointed things that we were really caring about right then and there. We did one, Countercultural by David Platt, and that was at a point where, most of us were associated with Iowa State University, and there were a lot of LGBTQ issues surfacing on campus. Just like, how is that community accepted on campus? What rights do they have? And that book specifically was chosen in reaction to that. Like, how do we as Christians now, stand up for what we believe in and but also love this community and welcome that. And so that was there's some books were chosen very reactionary to that, things that were happening around us, and others were just like, this looks interesting, let's try it. So it created really, unique and different conversations depending on the topics we chose.
So what is the best way you would say for our listeners to create these kind of studies and make these kind of bonds that you have?
Yeah, it's got to be organic. I think, that bus conversation, I go back to that a lot. And I think of opportunities in my life that I have for that, sitting at the pediatric office waiting for my kid's doctor's appointment, like, why aren't I sparking conversation with the mom next to me? Or, even sitting at church, like there's another great opportunity. How often do I not talk to the people sitting in front of me or behind me? And just being willing to put myself out there. Most of the time, I think I stop myself from that out of fear or assumptions that I make, they've already got their people. They must already be seeped into some friend groups. But I think what that bus conversation taught me was that, Alyssa had friends at the time in the city that we were in, and she still was on the lookout, she was never done, continuing to reach out to people and be an opportunity for them. And so that really has spurred me on. And so like that organic community of really just reaching out to the people you see around you, not waiting for, sometimes we wait for the church to do that for us. I think like, I'll wait for a Bible study to be advertised and then I'll join it. But not waiting for somebody else to tell us, just being mindful and aware of what's around us and what God's really speaking into my heart, who I should be reaching for, who my heart really longs for and hurts for, and who I want to be reaching. So that organic nature is really, really important, just to really develop from whatever sense of need God has placed in your heart. And then I think the other core pillar of it is to always have an open seat. This book club, as I said, was a revolving door of people. People would come in and leave depending on different, seasons of life that they were in. But there was always an open seat. Like if I ran into someone, at work, at church, wherever, that I felt like could benefit from that community, that I felt like was ready for it, we knew we could be inviting them. It wasn't let me take this back to the group and make sure that we have room for one more. Like it was we always had room for one more. And I think that mentality is really pivotal. And, we work against that a lot. A lot of times we want our community to be this tight-knit group that, okay, I'm going to get to know you, you're going to get to know me, and we're not going to be open to anyone else because we're building this deep relationship here. We need to be open. We need to have that open seat mentality to really seek the people around us that could benefit from community and, getting to know people and opportunities to learn relationship building. So yeah, that always have an open seat is the core of that and of the success of it.
Yeah, it's something that's really big for me too. Like this whole idea has played an important part of my life and my faith and walk with the Lord. Some of the best friends I still have now that even if I don't see them because they live an hour plus away, we still have that bond that will remain forever through situations like that. There was one study I did in college just with a couple of guys that I knew on campus. Like I was part of a huge campus ministry at the time, doing stuff all the time, leading Bible studies. But I just organically started one with two guys that weren't part of my church group because they asked me questions. One guy, after hearing me share the gospel, who was in my class, he just wanted to hear more and wanted to learn how I was able to so boldly share what I shared.
Yeah.
And we met, this guy and another guy met every week for a long time, for pretty much the rest of our college life.
That's awesome.
And we just built this bond that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Besides class, we didn't really interact that much. We were just on different paths. But we built this friendship that lasts to this day, and I still love him very much. And when I see him post things about his kids online, I get all happy and excited. And, but it's so important. So listeners, I really want to encourage you, find that community, find those brothers and sisters that will do life with you and keep an open heart and really have, because as Elyse has said many times, always have that open seat.
Yeah. Because
we can sometimes get too much, life is busy, life is crazy, and we can get too much into our own circle sometimes, and expanding that circle can be so important.
Yeah.
And the impact you can have for Christ is multiplied in that situation.
Yeah. Well, and asking God, what community is he calling you to? Because sometimes there's community out there that you just need to be willing to say yes to. And sometimes he's asking you to start it. He's asking you to reach out to an individual to start that sort of conversation, So I think that starts at prayer, asking God, what are you calling me to? Are you asking me to initiate something, or are you just asking me to be open to say yes to something? Because it can go both ways. I think we often err, especially in our culture today, of just like, I'm going to check out all my options and then I'll say yes to the option that already exists.
Yes.
But sometimes God's calling us to an option that doesn't exist yet, and we need to be willing to listen and obey and say yes. Okay, God, I'll look for who that's going to be.
Absolutely.
And ask them. Put myself out there and ask them.
Well, Elyse, thank you so much for sitting down and having this great conversation. Listeners, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in and listening. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you very much. Bye.